All right, are we going to get started here? So I still have a minute on my clock, but I think we can jump in with the introductory stuff. And hopefully we have Mason joining us tonight, a new member, correct? Oh, I see a new person joining.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Let's give it another minute here. Hey Mason, are you there?
Hey, yeah, I'm here. Just a
Welcome.
second. Sorry.
Just want to make sure that you got on okay. We'll do some official introductions here in a little bit.
Okay,
so
perfect.
that you got on okay.
Sorry for the virtual join. I had intended to be there in person.
That's okay, me too. Stuff happens.
There might be a kid or two walking in my background, but
Yeah, me too. Understand.
spring break.
All right, we have Blair Doyle with us. Hi. And Charlotte. Awesome. Good turnout. And possibly Jenna joining here. Oh, we have everybody almost, but Jenna Kirkwood just joined. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and kick us off. Am I echoing? No, okay. I hear an echo. Kirk, that might be you. There we go. All right. We'll call the meeting to order. It is 4:30. Do a brief roll call. So for the purposes of being legit here, do I actually have to call each person's name? I do. Okay. So I've always been curious if I actually have to do that or if I can just state who's attending the meeting. All right. Commissioner Helmner is here. Commissioner Donovan. Great is here. I am going to need some help with names probably. Let's see if I don't have the list of names with me. Sorry. We should include people's names maybe at the top of the agenda so that makes this job easier. So Commissioner Josephson. Yeah. And Commissioner Woods.
Here.
And then I'm so sorry, but you're gonna have to help me with the new commissioner's names. It's been a couple months.
Mr. Howard, Adam Howard.
Yes, Commissioner Howard, thank you.
And Celine Swenson Harris here.
Yes, and say your last name again for me.
Swenson Harris.
Swenson Harris, that's right. Okay, thank you. I asked you that last time. All right, thank you all for being here. I will put up the agenda here so we can all see it. Where's my share? There we go. All right. Can you all see that? Okay. I cannot see you anymore. I apologize. I'm a little clunky today. All right. So today we have a pretty brief agenda, actually. We'll just run through our general introductory items. I don't think we have any business from the audience or historic land use applications, but we'll verify. We want to just provide some updates on current things that we're working on and follow-ups from the last meeting I wasn't at, if there's anything to follow up on there. And then talk about some next steps that we need to follow up on. So we will just jump right in. I have not read, as I usually start our meeting with our land acknowledgement statement, just as a reminder that we are here to protect the history for all people who have lived on the land or the area we now call Springfield. So this is the abbreviated version. I would like to take a moment to acknowledge that the land we are on, that we now call Springfield, is located on traditional indigenous homeland of the Kalapuya people. We acknowledge that the city of Springfield shares this history with the exclusion and erasure of many indigenous people, including Kalapuya and those who first inhabited land on which we are located. We also acknowledge that the Kalapuya people are still stewards of this land and contributing to our history today. All right. So we have a new member joining us tonight. Mason, thank you so much for being here. I think it'd be awesome if we could go around the room and introduce ourselves to you. And if you want to share your name, maybe how long you've been on the commission for commissioners, and something that you have participated in or are participating in or is of interest to you, to help him get an idea of the type of stuff we're working on. I think that would be helpful. Mason, do you want to start and introduce yourself? Are you willing?
Sure.
And anything you want to share about yourself? Awesome.
My wife, my family, and I moved here like about 9 months ago. We bought a house here in the Washburn, and fell in love with the area, and pretty quickly wanted to get involved one way or another. And so started exploring ways to get involved, and found the opportunity to join, at the city level in some way, on a commission or committee, and the Historic Commission seemed very interesting to me. Have personal interest in it, some experience in the area, and obviously have a house in the Washburn, so it's important in that way too. So I have 3 kids, 3, 8, and 10 years old. I work from home as a director of e-commerce, and that's pretty much it.
Great. Welcome to the neighborhood.
Thank you.
Councilor Doyle, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Victoria Doyle, and I am the council liaison for Springfield and for the Historic Commission. I just recently got elected in January, but I am a lifelong Springfield resident. I was born right at McKenzie-Willamette Hospital, so I've been around here a very long time, and really appreciate the work that the Historic Commission does. And I work for the city of Eugene in land use and planning, so I kind of have my hand in sort of that field anyway, and see historic applications and stuff through there as well. So I kind of get both sides of this coin. And if anyone has questions or issues that they want brought to the council, feel free to talk to me.
Awesome. Nice to meet you.
Thank you. I have Charlotte on my screen next.
Can everybody hear me?
Mhm.
Great. Hi, I'm Charlotte Helmer. I've been on the commission for a couple of years. I'm a renter in the Washburn, so hi Mason, we're neighbors. Professionally, I work in historic preservation and architectural history. So I spent the last 7 years in the nonprofit sector, practicing like traditional trades and teaching people carpentry, masonry, that kind of thing. And then about 3 months ago, I transitioned into a new job as an architectural historian with ODOT. So I'm still the new kid in that role, but continuing to practice in that sort of architectural history vein. And as far as the commission goes, I think there's a lot of interesting projects that we've worked on, and good discussions. So I don't have a favorite to highlight, but it has been fun to see, even in just the past couple of years, like see the commission kind of rebuild and pick up momentum on a lot of different fronts.
Awesome.
Kurt.
I'm sorry, did we supposed to introduce ourselves? I was on the phone. Is that what?
Just a quick introduction, how long you've been on the commission,
Yeah,
and anything
okay.
that's an
Yeah,
interest.
I'm Kirk Donovan, and I've been on, I think, probably be 3 years this maybe fall. I have been teaching for 17 years at Lane Community College, but because of COVID, I'm not teaching right now, so I guess you can call me retired, but I just, I don't have time for that. So I'm hoping to get back on this June. I typically teach in the summer, so that's about it. Yeah, so that's it.
Great.
I'll mute.
Great, thanks. And do you want to go around the table there for those who are in person? And
My name is Brian Josephson. I'm the vice chair here for the Historic Commission. I've been on since January 1st of 2021. I am a National Guardsman. That's kind of what I do semi-professionally on the weekends anyway. And then I'm a law student during the week. Before I went to law school, I studied planning at U of O.
I am Taryn Wood. I've been on the commission for about a year now. I'm a current student of history. I am finishing up my undergrad within the next 3 months, and I am on the commission because I've volunteered around the community for a bit and figured this would be a great way to give back.
My name is Adam Howard. Historic Commission since January of this year. I'm also doing double duty with the History Museum Committee. So any opportunities to work together are certainly of interest to me and something that would like to work at if that's possible. Otherwise, I'm still getting my feet wet, still new, but enjoying myself very much.
Celine Swenson Harris, I was also appointed starting in January. I'm delighted to no longer be the newest member here. And I think we have a lot of really cool projects to work on, and I'm excited to get more involved with them.
Cool.
Tom Sievers, staff liaison for the Historic Commission. We've talked a few times already, but I've been with the commission so far since I was hired, basically last October. I moved to the Veneta area actually last May, so getting close to a year now, but happy to be involved. I'm a senior planner in current planning as well, and then this is kind of my side gig for the city to be liaison, so yeah.
Awesome. Nice to meet everybody.
great. And I'm Christina Bowe, the chair. And I have been on the commission. Oh, I don't even know how long I've been on the commission. I think it's been 8 years. I don't know. I'm getting timed out at the end of this year. Because you can only be renewed for 2 terms. So I must have been on it for 8 years.
Awesome.
Anyway, so I've seen the commission go through a lot of changes. I think Jenna, who's not here, our only member that's not here right now, and I have probably been on similar lengths of time. Yeah, and so just been fun to watch all the changes. Professionally, I work for William Lane. Obviously, I think my name is showing my title. I am a landscape architect. I work in the planning and development office, and we do have some historic properties. So part of my role here is just also trying to look out for William Lane resources and historic sites.
Okay, cool.
So we have a lot of cool projects and things going on right now. I'll send you a follow-up email just so you're kind of at least in the loop on what we're working on, and put you in touch with where to find some additional information and resources. Most of it's available online, so I'll send you some links to that stuff.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great.
Always feel free to ask questions to any of us, because I think for all of us, it's been a little bit of a journey to kind of get yourself, centered or figure out what's going on or how to contribute. So we're all open to questions or thoughts and ideas.
Sounds good.
Okay, well, thank you for being here. We have any public comment, Tom? Or
Not that I saw when I was logging in.
okay, I didn't see any either. What about land use applications to discuss tonight?
No current land use applications.
All right. Well, let's just jump into our updates. I think this is a similar kind of rundown of what we did last month. So just trying to keep making progress. I do want to point out, as we're jumping into this, that our timeline for sending our grant funds is going to approach sooner than we are ready for it. So I'm going to keep putting that out as a reminder. I think we need to spend by, I think it's the end of August. It's in our work plan. If anybody has Springfield Oregon Speaks open on their computer, you could probably find that work plan there and let me know. But it is coming up like at the end of summer, and it goes quick when we're only meeting once a month even. So keep that in mind. And so it's important for us to keep meeting and making sure that we are making progress. It's really easy to talk about things and then not have, not have time for actually making progress on stuff. So was there, sorry, did I miss something?
End of August for our RCG funds.
Yeah, good, thanks. So that's not too bad. We have, but 4, 5, 6, 5 months. So about 5 meetings. We have enough time now to still make some good progress. I guess it's a good time to kind of.
And we also noted, it looks like it's maybe a new grant cycle is opening up for those. It just notes spring 2023.
Yeah, so usually there's like the application process in the fall, and then we have to wait, or in the spring even. There's like a little 6-month lag, I think, between we get our next round of funding. One of the ways we dealt with that last time was to spend the funds on contracts and pay the contractor in advance with an agreement in place that they were going to conduct the work. And so as long as we have that signed contract, we can, we even paid them after the fact, but we billed that out of the grant. I'm not sure how we did that, but it worked. So that's something we can keep in mind, and we can roll funds over to our consultant who helps us with application reviews as well. So things that we are working on right now, I'll give a little overview for each one too, just for Mason's sake. We have one of the projects in our work plan for this year is, and it's been on probably the longest standing project on our work plan, is a update of the reconnaissance level survey, which is the survey of resources within the Washburn Historic District. And it's basically going back, and Charlotte could describe this better than me because she knows more about this than I do, but it's going back and updating records that we have of the houses, and they were done a long time ago, and some of them are incomplete or not fully accurate at this point. And so just kind of getting a fresh update as kind of a best practice, so that we have the information we need to help inform decisions as land use applications come into the city, and they can identify whether or not something is being meeting historic guidelines or not, and help inform the decisions that we make around that. So Charlotte, do you want to say anything more about that, and then give us an update too of kind of where that process is at, or how people can help?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is something that the commissioners have wanted to do for quite a while. And even though there's lots of other survey projects that would also be important to do in the community, what we find with the Washburn specifically is that when proposals for projects come before us, pulling up that record that describes what is historic and why, that document was written in the late 80s, I believe, and it's just hard to really depend on it to have clear photos, good descriptions of like when additions might have been put on buildings, basic information that would make it a lot easier for us as a commission to more efficiently review those proposed projects and determine whether they're sort of appropriate within the historic character of the neighborhood. So that's why it rose to the top as a priority, because we do review things in the Washburn periodically. As far as the update goes, I have not really made good progress on this since our last meeting. I had a little conversation with some of the staff of Willamette CRM and just confirmed that they do likely have room for us on their schedule. As we discussed the last time, I think they've actually hired a couple more folks. So they said they still do have room for us if we want to proceed.
Okay. Do you want to schedule a separate meeting to kind of revisit that. Would that be helpful?
I think so. And
okay.
even if it's just a chat with you, Christina, I think that would help me get over the next hurdle,
Okay.
because we had some decisions to make after our
Right.
last meetings with them. And I think I find myself a little bit, what is it? Yeah, I'm a little stuck trying to figure out exactly what to ask them for with the funds.
Yeah.
For instance, we talked about like, we don't have enough money to survey everything. So how do we decide where to focus? And I think I'm spinning my wheels a little bit.
Yeah, I would too. So it helps to have a brainstorming session maybe.
That would be great.
Yeah. So we had hoped to do a survey for the entire Washburn district, just so you know, Mason. And when we got estimates back, it came in way above what our original estimate had been, what we included in our grant. And so we are like under half funded for it. And so we're trying to figure out how to approach doing half of a survey, and there's ways around it, but we're working with a consultant group to figure out how to strategize the best approach for that. We could prioritize certain types of resources or certain areas or that kind of thing. And so we'll come up with an approach for that, and then hopefully get a contract in the works. And that might be one that we could, even if we get that contract signed by the end of this year or August, we could potentially pay that out in advance and have those funds utilized from our grant, which would be great. Okay, great. Thanks, Charlotte. So I'll send you an invite or schedule that. Make note to myself. If anybody else wants to be included in that discussion, just let us know. The training opportunities, did anybody get to attend? Did it already happen? There was a meeting. You attended, Charlotte? I think I saw you. Did you want to share anything about that? How was it?
Oh, I should have queued up some comments on that one. I thought it was really interesting. So the training was about how to write preservation plans. And one of the most interesting examples, I think, was out of the city of Austin, and they haven't published their plan yet, but it should be available in the next couple months. So I'll try to keep an eye out for it and share it. The training was also recorded and the handouts are available. So if anybody thinks they might want to explore that, in their own time, I think that's really worthwhile. It did get me kind of excited about what a preservation plan would look like for Springfield and how it might be, a standalone document or complementary to other planning sort of projects in the community. There are so many different ways to approach a document like that, but the goal, I think, at the end of the process is to have an awareness and like document like what the journey of the ordinances, historic resources, historic review board, kind of like capture the context of what does the preservation scene in this community look like and what are our priorities moving forward. And it can involve a lot of public engagement, including using CLG grants to pay members of the community for their time if they're contributing and helping us, understand and capture like these histories of folks who've been underrepresented. There's a lot of really cool tools out there. So I think it's it's an inspiring training, and I encourage you to check it out if you're so inclined.
Awesome.
And when we get to the point of wanting to write a historic preservation plan for this community, I think that training will be an even richer resource because we can go back and reference it and talk to individuals who were presenters. There's also somebody from, I'm blanking on, I think it was Madison, Wisconsin, whose presentations were fascinating. So I think we've got a whole network of people that we could reach out to when we get to that point, kind of roll up our sleeves with that kind of study of the community.
Developing a preservation plan was one of the things that came out of the camp training as a recommendation that would help guide our future work and kind of priorities. And being a planner myself to some degree, I love the idea of having that kind of visionary guidance in place. But I have heard, and Charlotte, I'm curious, based on that training, I have heard that from others who are more familiar with preservation plans that maybe we're not quite at a place that's ready to do that. And part of that was thinking just.
I can't hear you, Christina. Sorry, could you say that again?
I cut out. I don't know what you heard. That we're not at a place to really start that process yet, that we have some pre-work to do. And so as far as like going out to the community or, you know, even just staff resources at the city, I don't know if that would be a concern or, you know, awareness. There's some other really big things happening in Springfield, and I think it involves, you know, some attention or demand from the city council potentially even being involved a little bit. And I don't know. It was kind of the state who had expressed some concern to me about whether or not we're set up for success for a good preservation plan at this point. Maybe there's some pre-work for us to do to get to the point where we could actually do that. Did they talk at all about, you know, where you need to be before you start that process?
That's an interesting question. I wish I had asked the presenters or the panelists that question. And there is going to be a follow-up session because there were so many good questions and conversations in the chat during this webinar that they're going to announce a follow-up date. And so maybe I'll bring that question back to the panel then. I know one of the topics that came up was sort of a discussion about how to engage the community in a conversation about preservation planning, how to talk about it in really accessible ways so that we're not kind of falling back on preservation jargon. It's funny, I don't think they really did at any point suggest that that a community might not be ready for a preservation plan. I don't think that came up at all.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that's promising. I mean, if one person says that, that doesn't necessarily mean it's true. It was just a good kind of awareness check of like making sure that
I think the only way it came up is if they were saying, well, if your preservation plan is only 5 years old, then don't worry, you're probably fine. Most of us are going, we don't have a preservation plan. It's not just out of date, it doesn't exist.
The one thing that comes to mind is at the camp training too, they were talking about doing engagement and doing it well with the community. And if you're not really set up to do that well, it can backfire on you and actually work against you in the long run. So if you're, you know, having the resources behind it and support you need to do a good job so that the messaging is clear and you're getting the information you need, and it's a lot of work. And so that is probably one thing to consider. But anyways, yeah, interesting. I'm glad you went. Thank you for attending that. Anybody else have upcoming trainings on their mind, on their plate? Okay, we do have I think $1,500 in our budget for anybody who wants to do trainings. 5 months is going to pass quick, so go out and see if there's anything you can attend. If anybody wants to, there's definitely money on the table and we can make it happen. And the way that would work, just so you're aware, is you kind of get approval from the commission for just spending that money, and then you would have to pay for it and we would reimburse you through the grant. That's just how our grant works. It's a reimbursement-based grant. So that opportunity is there. You know, I would say if you find opportunities and want to send it out to the group, that's great too. Charlotte.
The National Preservation Institute, NPI, also has quite a few trainings that are available, you know, on demand. So I was just looking at one today that is about designing transportation projects so that they're sympathetic or compatible to historic streetscapes. And that's $100 fee that provides, you know, access to some training resources and I think a 75-minute pre-recorded training. So it's not the most like exciting way to participate in a training, But considering that we do have some funds that are available, I think if anybody's interested in doing that kind of training that's sort of self-directed, doesn't involve travel, fits around your schedule, definitely check out NPI, National Preservation Institute. Lots of good stuff on there.
Awesome. And we do have that list of resources. I think it's potentially on Springfield Oregon Speaks, a list of opportunities we started to create on a spreadsheet. And so you can look on there too for different agency kind of standing trainings and conferences to attend. If I remember correct, that the one you went to last year, Charlotte, or tried to go to, that was in the spring, right? What was that called?
I'm forgetting which one that was.
Oops, sorry.
Was it the National Trust?
I had an acronym. It might have been a National Trust. Yeah. Anyways, I think that was in the spring, and we weren't able to make it last year, I think, but that was, it seemed like it was a really good one.
Yeah, it has been good in the past. I think it's kind of tricky to find trainings that are really specific to exactly what our commission does. At least looking at the National Trust, I think that's kind of tricky to do. So yeah, I think if you haven't been to a National Trust conference, it's definitely worthwhile because it does give you that national picture of like, what is the preservation movement across this country? Like, what are people working on? What kind of lobbying is happening at the federal level? It is a pretty cool, like immersive experience. I think once you've been to it, there's less payoff to go back year after year. But if you guys haven't been to a National Trust event, it's probably worth doing. And they certainly were virtual during COVID, but I don't know if they're still virtual or hybrid or in person.
Yeah, I just pulled it up real quick. It's actually November 8th through 10th this year in Washington, D.C.
Mhm.
So if nobody else wants to do any other training, it's potential that we could donate our $1,500 to send one person to go towards travel and registration for that. We've done that in the past, so it's a weekly conference. Anyways, that will be on our agenda next time. So if anybody finds anything, just let us know. The next thing is the walking tour guides. And so update on that is we were able to get those approved by the state. Thank you, Tom, for helping with that. I think, do you still need some help, Tom, getting information together for the actual revision?
No, I submitted the, what do they call it? The progress report.
Yeah.
Basically with, with the information you provided about the awards, that was, as I take it, the big thing from last year. So I pulled any pictures that I could from the link that was provided, and some other stuff in there that I tried to pull together just to show some progress. But as far as, I guess it was for the moving the funds, that $1,000, just to let them know, because it had already been approved. We just needed to submit the progress report to show reallocation of those funds.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, that has been submitted.
Thank you.
I hope I did it right. Murray has not said anything against it. I think we're good.
Yeah. So those have been produced. I'm going to pick them up. They're ready right now. They called me today, actually. So there's 500 copies of both the downtown Springfield walking tour guide and the Washburn Historic Neighborhood walking tour guide. And I'm going to drop those off at the library. If anybody else wants copies of those anywhere else, I could bring, actually, I'll save some and I'll bring some to our next meeting if anybody's interested.
Are they these? These are the ones I picked up at the museum.
Oh, nice.
We talked about the walking tour guide, how we needed more of them soon because
Good.
we're out of them. And discussed that perhaps just recreating something very similar to these for a short period of time would at least float us towards the end of the year. But at some point, we also wanted to revisit the idea of the guide, perhaps include more historic locations, things that we hadn't considered in the past, things that might address underserved populations. We also discussed the idea of potentially forming a subcommittee to discuss the kinds of changes that we wanted to make to these walking tour guides, as well as creating opportunities for people to become more involved, to offer their opinion, and really create something tangible that they can then introduce to the community. So certainly something that I think has the potential to create collaboration between the Historic Commission, as well as the Springfield History Museum Committee, and even the Springfield Arts Commission. It's a great idea. Certainly something that I would like to see explored. But in the meantime, we just discussed that it was more important to have these ready to go so that we didn't run out.
Yeah.
So
Thanks, Adam. I like the idea of getting a group of people's heads together to kind of brainstorm what they could be in the next iteration. I'm forgetting her name all of a sudden. Leslie, who was on the commission previously, had talked about the exciting idea of trying to digitalize it too, and doing kind of an Esri story map, or where people could just, you know, look at a map and click on the locations to see images and content, and you could do that, you know, live on your phone as you're walking around, or you could do it from wherever if you're not there in person. So that was kind of a cool idea. But yeah, I think there's probably a lot of other good ideas, and I like the idea of expanding it potentially too. And then maybe having one person be a lead on it to help make it happen. That'd be awesome. And it's a good time to start that, because as we go in for our next grant cycle, we have an idea of what we'd like to do. We could have that plan in place to fund it in our next grant.
You're kind of,
Hard to hear you again, Christina.
I don't know what's happening. I'm not changing anything. Huh. I'm sorry. Can you hear me now? Okay, I wonder if I'm getting cut out or something from like a noise on a different mic. Does it sound like that, or am I getting quiet?
It's like if you turn your head, then the mic starts to like adjust to pick you up from the side, but then it doesn't adjust back.
Weird. Okay, I haven't heard that before. I will stare right at the computer on top of my head. Sorry. But what I was just trying to get at is that it would be a good time to start brainstorming around that, so that we can have a plan in place. I don't think the other groups, the Arts Commission, I think has some funds, but I don't think that necessarily has dedicated funds. So we have our budget. You guys are laughing. Can you hear me?
time.
Weird. Huh. I've never had this happen. Okay. Well, I don't have my earbuds, unfortunately, at home. So, now we have closed captioning. Okay. Well, I'm sorry if you can't hear me. I don't know how to, unless Brian, you want to take the lead on the next few things to make it easier for folks. It's just going through.
I can do that. It's totally up to you. I've got the agenda open already though.
Okay, why don't you go ahead? I still have my screen shared, and I'll jump in if I want to say anything.
Did you have
You're loud
anything
enough now.
on the historic museum walking guide?
Just the update I just gave that I'm going to be delivering it to the museum next week. And so I guess the last thing with that is the downtown guide, we don't have an original scan of that. So it's very poor quality. And so they just scanned the old version of it basically, and the image quality is really poor. It's rough. So that's definitely a good reason to start thinking about our next iteration of those and trying to upgrade a little bit.
Okay. Moving on to the handbook and commissioner guidelines. We spoke a little bit about moving forward with that. I think kind of first step is talking to city attorney's office and kind of getting a feel for what would be required and involved, and also what other folks have done. I think Tom kind of taking the lead, or
Yes, I have not reached out to legal yet on that.
I foresee this being a longer process anyway. I think it'll be pretty iterative, and so that in the week since we spoke, we don't have a detailed report yet is not by any stretch the end of the world. Tina, anything to add? Okay. Postcards, do we have any update on that? I know we don't have Jenna here. We might just.
Did she have an update on that last month?
She wasn't here last month either.
Oh, okay. Okay. I think we were just gonna plan to print another batch in preparation for our next mailing. So I'm guessing we haven't made progress on that, but that's another one we should jump on before it becomes last minute.
Sounds good. And then we did get a Historic Commission Awards Subcommittee, a big update today, right? That was today, yes. And I will take that just because again, we don't have Jenna. So we have the Historic Award. There was a meeting. Tom, were you there? Yes. Do you want to talk us through it?
Yeah, if I could share my screen, Christina, I have Jenna's meeting notes from that. Okay, can you all see? All right, so we've just been working on the timeline of events to get this kicked off and going. We'll have the initial call for entries Thursday, May 4th. That is the Historic Preservation Month, so I think that's in line with last year too. This hasn't changed much. We've just been changing out dates on it to be correct, to follow last year's model. As Jenna has pointed out, we do already have the molds created from last year. So it's just a matter of paying for the medallions at this point to be created. And I have placed a AIS, the agenda item summary, in the September, I believe it's the September 7th. It might have been the 5th council meeting. So that's all put together. I just pulled the one from last year that Melissa had created and again, updated it for current dates and stuff like that. So that is mostly secured at this point. And that's all I have.
Anybody else, anything to add on the form at all? The form's pretty straightforward. I don't think it changes. There's very little changes from last year. We added a projected completion date and evaluation criteria sections. So those are new. The rest of it is a holdover. And sounds like we'll be accepting about a month. So
Mason, I don't know if you can hear me, but the purpose of these awards, this was last year was our first year doing these awards. And the purpose is we have two different awards that we have set up, and we do it with the Springfield History Museum, combined efforts kind of. And there's one that is a project-based award. So those who have done good historic preservation projects, people will submit for that. And then we acknowledge up to 3 we need awardees, winners. And then there's also a History Maker Award, which is somebody who is doing work currently that's going to impact the future history of Springfield in the area. And so last year was kind of our first shot, and now they're going back to it and trying to streamline the process a little bit more and address things that came up and just refine the process going forward. So we'll be kicking off our next one. It sounds like this fall. Or no, May. March, April, May. Yeah, May. We're gonna do it in the fall again. Oh, announce awards in the fall. I missed the last meeting or two, unfortunately, for that subcommittee. So I feel out of the loop.
All right. Moving on to our end of year summary for council. I think, Christina, was it you or Jenna that was gonna do the end of year summary?
Jenna had volunteered to take it to council, I think, if nobody else wanted to. I haven't talked to her about that anymore. It's still on the agenda because I kind of agreed to go through and try to at least write up a little summary that could be presented. And I haven't done that yet. So I'm leaving it on the agenda until I make progress.
I was hoping to get Counselor Doyle's input on that too, but she's already left, so I can follow up.
Right. Yeah, okay. Thank you, Tom.
And then, as previously noted, welcome again to Commissioner Shannon. New-ish to Springfield, new to our wonderful Historic Commission today. We are very happy to have you with us and excited to get you moving and helping out with historic preservation and education in Springfield.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Anything else you want to add, Chair Bo?
Not for me. I would open it up to the rest of the commission if anybody else has things of interest or things you want to share with the group before we close. It's welcome. I see Charlotte.
Oh.
Sorry, what was that?
We have one in the room as well.
Why don't you start in the room?
Okay, Commissioner Howard.
So the Springfield Library has been conducting a series of focus groups about creating a strategic plan. And on April 4th, they're going to present the results of that, of those focus groups and what their ideas for their strategic plan is going to be. It also includes necessarily the museum, as the museum is technically part of the library. But I would certainly encourage anybody who's interested in simply listening to the results and seeing if there's any opportunities to provide any feedback to attend. And so that's going to be April 4th from 5:30 to 7. I believe it's going to be in that room next door.
Commissioner Helmer.
Yeah, there's 2 historic properties that are outside the city limits, but I think are still worth keeping on the radar. One is the Walterville Grange. So Walterville being about 20 minutes up the Mackenzie from downtown Springfield. I just heard recently that the members of the Grange are looking for specifically grant funding, but also some just support in working on the siding and restoring the windows of the Walterville Grange. My assumption is there's nothing that we can do as a commission to formally support them because they are not in Springfield, but they have a Springfield address. They just aren't like officially in the purview of this commission. So I just wanted to let you guys know that that's a really cool historic resource right on the highway. So next time you drive by, maybe take a look. The other one is the Hayden Bridge, which we've talked about before. I think, Taryn, I'm wondering if you maybe have actually more information than I do about this, because I think it's been a focus of yours in the past. But last I heard that the bridge is actually up for sale because they have failed to find, there hasn't been somebody who's willing to take it on. And so both of these projects, I think, wholeheartedly, they do matter to the preservation and to the just historic character of Springfield, even though they don't fit neatly inside a precise bureaucratic boundary. I do think that they matter to our community identity, and it's just useful for us to be aware of what's happening.
Actually, on the boundary, if I remember right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a auction happening on April 1st for anybody who wants to attend.
Where
I
at?
know, at the bridge.
Do we know what time?
I can get back to you on that.
Okay, I don't intend to buy a bridge, but this sounds fascinating.
I may also want to attend. Anyway.
Yeah, if you
Any
Is
other
there another historic park in Springfield that needs a railroad bridge? I mean,
Yeah,
if
you
anybody
have to
needs
move
a
it.
historic railroad bridge, we all do, but yeah, it's a pretty cool community asset that's ready for a home.
Are you saying that when it's auctioned, that somebody, whoever buys it, then can remove it and
It technically
From the area?
is movable. It was part of the Transcontinental Railroad in Utah before it was brought here. So
right?
if you had the money and resources, you could move the bridge.
Railroad.
Well, I
Anything
imagine
else? Announcements, go to the order. Chair Bo.
I'll chime in that Lameline's currently working on some updates to I forget the exact name, but it's like a historic heritage and culture plan for the district, and so it kind of outlines historic resources and cultural sites kind of in the district. That was very rough draft the first round, and we've contracted with a local elder of the Grand Ronde tribe, Marta Clifford, and another woman, Stephanie Tabibian, who is a member of the Shoshone Paiute tribe, but does a lot of local advocacy work here for American Indian Alaska Native folks. And they are helping us update that plan. And they are also going to start reviving the walking tour, the walking stone, the Calpuya walking stone tours that have been happening in the past. And so they're going to try to revive that program, and there'll be some, as those start to pop up, I'll share it with the group. But if you want to go on a tour with Marta, Lammeline will be kind of hiring her to start doing some tours for the community and help share more about that installment resource in our community. And they were one of our award winners last year, that project was, so it's kind of cool and relevant. And that's it.
Any other announcements? Okay, seeing none, I will call this meeting adjourned at 5:23 p.m. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.